Now here's something we haven't done in a while, read fan fiction. Because the last 3 times I did this, they were such gems. Quality material that totally didn't become more and more frustrating the further they went on. Of course, my previous choice of stories to read are really only considered notorious by the respective series fan bases. Today, we're beginning an epic, multi-part look at one of the most famous fan fictions ever written. It's a Star Trek story, one that most people who interact with fanfiction are familiar with, even if they are not a Star Trek fan. It gave a name to a writing trend that definitely wasn't weaponized against new writers of both fanfiction and the actual media itself in the years since. This is Paula Smith's A Trekkie's Tale. Gee golly gosh, glorioski, thought Mary Sue as she stepped onto the bridge of the Enterprise. Here I am, the youngest lieutenant in the fleet, only 15.5 years old. Captain Kirk came up to her. Oh, Lieutenant, I love you madly. Will you come to bed with me? Wait, hang on a second. How old did Sue say she was a moment ago? 15? Damn it, Kirk! Captain, I'm not that kind of girl. You're right, and I respect you for it. Here, take over the ship for a minute while I go get us some coffee for us.
This is my chicken sandwich and coffee. I want these things off the ship. I don't care if it takes every man we've got. I want them off the ship.
Mr. Spock came onto the bridge. What are you doing in the command seat, Lieutenant? The captain told me to. Flawlessly logical. I admire your mind. Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, and Mr. Scott beamed down with Lieutenant Mary Sue to Rigel 38. They were attacked by green androids and thrown into prison. In a moment of weakness, Lieutenant Mary Sue revealed to Mr. Spock that she too was half Vulcan. Recovering quickly, she sprung the lock with her hairpin, and they all got away back to the ship. An easy escape attempt, sure, but these green androids still put more effort into these prison cells than the Kazon. Back on board, Dr. McCoy and Lieutenant Mary Sue found out that the men who had beamed down were seriously stricken by the jumping cold Robbies. Mary Sue less so. While the 4 officers languished in sickbay, Lieutenant Mary Sue ran the ship, and ran it so well she received the Nobel Peace Prize, the Vulcan Order of Gallantry, and the Tralmathadorian Order of Guyhood.
Anyway, let's move on to somebody even more important. Perhaps the most important person in Starfleet history, Chief Miles O'Brien.
However, the disease finally got to her, and she fell fatally ill. In the sickbay, as she breathed her last, she was surrounded by Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, and Mr. Scott, all weeping unashamedly. At the loss of her beautiful youth and her youthful beauty, intelligence, capability, and all-around niceness. Even to this day, her birthday is a national holiday of the Enterprise. Wait, that was it? That was the infamous story that introduced the concept of a Mary Sue to the world? And was only a few paragraphs long? But I promised this was going to be an epic multi-part Let's Read. Well, there's a good reason for that. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. Yeah, I know everybody's actual favorite fake holiday is Captain Picard Day. So what did I think about this story? It doesn't take itself even remotely seriously, and it's all the better for it. I mean, Rigel 38. As told by Paula Smith herself, she was a subscriber to a Star Trek fan magazine where she kept reading through fan fictions that told essentially the same plot. A young woman joins the Enterprise crew, the whole cast grows to adore her in a short amount of time, and she dies tragically at the end, leaving the entire ship to mourn the great loss not just they suffered, but the whole universe. Fed up with how similar all these stories were, she decided to make a parody of these fan fictions, which certainly gave me a good laugh. But what surprised me even more is how similar this is to an actual episode of Star Trek. An episode from the 3rd season of TOS called The Lights of Zetar. In the episode, we meet Lieutenant Mira Romaine, whom Scotty has become smitten with. Then becomes the focus of a story involving a weird alien possession, and everyone is absolutely panicked at the thought of anything bad happening to her. Frankly, it's boring. Ronald D. Moore, a prominent writer on TNG and DS9, described it as his least favorite episode of the original series, and A Trekkie's Tale comes across as a parody of it, if I'm being honest with myself. You might notice the original Mary Sue is pretty basic and might not fill your expectations. And that's because by Smith's definition, a Mary Sue is an author avatar that the whole story and every character revolves around like a black hole. Certain audiences will use the term Mary Sue as a quick and easy way to get the general public to hate characters that they hate, but that's missing half the reason a Trekkie's Tale was written in the first place. It was to poke fun at a trend in order to encourage fanfiction writers to do better, not to be something that intimidates potential writers so much that they end up not writing anything. I guess that means this April Fool's Day was a learning experience.
Please, Spock, do me a favor, and don't say it's fascinating.
No. But it is interesting.